Hello everyone and good afternoon. My name's Don Arleth and you're watching a midday report coming to you live from Warsaw. Poland's foreign ministry will issue a letter of protest to Russia after a Russian drone crashed and exploded on Polish territory near the village of Osiny in the country's east. The incident caused minor damage to nearby homes, but no casualties were reported. On Thursday morning, Deputy Foreign Minister Marcin told RMF-FM that Warsaw is certain the drone was of Russian origin. According to Bosacki, the drone was likely intended to strike Ukraine but crossed into Polish airspace before crashing. NATO headquarters in Brussels has been informed of the incident, though the authorities in Poland stress that it does not trigger Article 5 procedures. The crash took place overnight on Wednesday when the drone crashed into a cornfield and exploded, shattering windows in 3 houses. Defense Minister Władysław Kosiniak-Kamysz confirmed yesterday that the object was a Russian drone, calling the incident a deliberate provocation by Moscow.
Have ended up in Romania, Moldova, Lithuania, Latvia, Bulgaria and now for the first time in Poland. We are talking about at least a dozen drones here. They were all intended to end up in Ukraine. This is how Russian provocations work. They carry out attacks on Ukraine during peace negotiations, and the attacks also affect Kiev's supporters. This drone was not launched accidentally. It was intended to fly to Ukraine, and for various reasons it ended up in Poland. But the operation is being carried out by Russia.
A spokesperson for Lithuania's defense ministry said on Thursday that Vilnius had established a no-fly zone near its border with Belarus until October 1st in response to drones entering from the country. Lithuania's foreign ministry has written to the NATO military alliance asking it to help strengthen its air defenses after 2 military drones crossed into its territory last month. NATO and European Union member Lithuania borders Russia and Moscow's ally Belarus. The most recent incident, a drone crossed into Lithuania on July 28th. Lithuania suspects it was fired by Russia at Ukraine, but then disoriented by Ukraine's air defenses. The drone was found crashed in a military training area about 100 kilometers from the border with Belarus. It contained 2 kilograms of explosives. Ukrainian Foreign Minister Andrii Sybiha said that an overnight Russian attack struck an American electronics manufacturer in Ukraine's Zakarpattia region, causing major damage and injuring 19 people. According to Sybiha, the target was a civilian facility and had nothing to do with the defense sector or the military. At the same time, the Russian army struck areas across Ukraine, including Lviv, which is just 120 kilometers from the Polish border. 3 people were killed in the attack. Our correspondent,
Russia launched a deadly series of airstrikes, drone and missile attacks on Ukrainian territory in the early hours of Thursday morning, with scores reportedly injured and fatalities reported. That number may continue to change throughout the day. Now, the Ukrainian Air Force say Russia launched 574 drones and 40 missiles onto Ukrainian territory, targeting the Ukrainian capital of Kyiv, with air defense working throughout the early hours of the morning, but also parts of western Ukraine, targeting Rivne, Lviv and Zakarpattia Oblast. Zakarpattia is, of course, home to many ethnic Hungarians near the border with Hungary. Now, an American company in the Mukachevo city in Zakarpattia Oblast was hit by several cruise missiles, according to the Ukrainian government. This is an electronics company, an American one, a civilian one. So it looks like that building was specifically targeted by the Russians. And Zelensky has responded forcefully in the morning to these attacks, saying a reaction to this is needed. There is still no signal from Moscow that they are going to engage in meaningful negotiations to end the war. Pressure is needed, strong sanctions, strong tariffs. So a clear message there to Washington from Kyiv, that they want further pressure ramped up against Moscow in response to these deadly attacks that Russia continues to launch into Ukrainian territory. It's Osiny reporting from Kyiv for TVP World.
German prosecutors say a Ukrainian man who is suspected of masterminding the explosions that destroyed the Nord Stream gas pipelines has been arrested. The Nord Stream 1 and 2 pipelines, which run on the Baltic seabed between Russia and Germany, were badly damaged by explosions in September of 2022. The suspect, who had been identified as Sybiha K. under German privacy laws, was allegedly part of the group that planted the devices on the pipelines near the Danish island of Bornholm. The German prosecutor's office said in a statement that the suspect was arrested overnight by Italian police in the country's east near Rimini. He and his accomplices allegedly set off from Rostock on Germany's northeastern coast in a sailboat to carry out the attack. The statement added that the vessel had been rented from a German company with the help of forged identity documents via middlemen. Sybiha K. will be brought before a German judge after being extradited from Italy. The European Union has released a joint statement today on their tariff framework with the United States, detailing the first steps to assure a mutual balanced trade relationship between the two economies. A key part of the framework is Europe eliminating tariffs on U.S.-based industrial goods, which opens up market access for a wide range of American food products, including processed foods and various types of meat. In return, the U.S. has agreed to apply a separate lower tariff on certain natural European products that the U.S. does not produce, rather than an additional 15% tariff applied to other goods. Additionally, both the EU and the U.S. have committed to working together to eliminate non-tariff barriers, making trade between the two regions easier and more efficient.
We'll be announcing it very soon.
Moldova's government has approved a plan to secure energy supplies for the coming winter. The strategy includes diversifying gas purchases, boosting reserves, and expanding power infrastructure. The state-owned supplier Energocom will have to boost gas reserves to at least 15% of annual use by November 1st, with purchases from multiple sources and monitoring of deliveries to Transnistria. Moldova's energy minister said that the plan guarantees stability and independence, with 60 million euros in EU aid available if supplies to Transnistria are cut. Key electricity measures include putting the Volcantesti Chisinau high-voltage line into service this year and launching an auction for annual power purchases by late October. The plan, prepared each year since 2022, is intended to strengthen Moldova's energy security. Poland's homegrown mobile payment system, Blik, is becoming increasingly popular. Since the start of the year, Poles used Blik to make a total of nearly 1.4 billion transactions, nearly a quarter more than in the same period last year. In the first half of 2025, users made an average of 7.7 million transactions per day, for a total value of nearly $28 billion. But there's more to the rising numbers than just Blik's growing popularity. The platform has introduced services such as deferred and recurring payments. Blik is also being used more frequently by shoppers at brick-and-mortar stores. Between January and June, customers made over 338 million transactions, marking a 31% increase year over year. Nearly half of the payments were contactless, nearly 46 more than the same period last year. An active-duty U.S. Navy sailor in California has been convicted of espionage for selling secrets to a Chinese agent. The 25-year-old man was convicted on 6 charges, including espionage, conspiracy to commit espionage, and unlawful export of classified data about U.S. Navy ships.
As stated by U.S. Attorney Adam Gordon, by trading military secrets to China, the defendant not only jeopardized the lives of his fellow servicemen, but also the security of the United States and its allies. A naturalized U.S. citizen, the man served as a machinist's mate, held a security clearance and had access to sensitive information about ships in the Pacific Fleet. During his week-long trial, prosecutors presented evidence including phone conversations, electronic messages and audio messages that the sailor exchanged with his Chinese handler. In exchange for the information he gathered, the 25-year-old was paid over $12,000 over a period of 18 months. The defendant is scheduled to be sentenced on December 1st and could face life in prison.
Chinese President Xi Jinping has made a surprise visit to Tibet, addressing 20,000 people in Lhasa to mark 60 years since Beijing established the autonomous region. It was only his second presidential trip to the tightly controlled area.
Xi Jinping appeared in the Tibetan capital on Wednesday, praising the local authorities for what he called their struggle against separatism. His visit comes just 2 months after the Dalai Lama announced that his office, not Beijing, would determine his successor, reviving a decades-long dispute. State media showed Xi welcomed by cheering crowds and traditional dances, while his speech stressed political stability, unity and religious harmony. He made no mention of the exiled spiritual leader who fled in 1959. Rights groups accuse China of eroding Tibetan identity, while Beijing insists its rule has improved the livelihood of local residents. Xi outlined the Communist Party's vision for Tibet, listing stability, development, environmental protection and border security as its core tasks.
Since the beginning of the year, more than 2,600 square kilometers in Portugal have been destroyed by fires, compared to 1,430 in 2024. Some people, like this garage owner, lost everything they had in the blaze, which reduced his thriving business to burnt wreckage.
This was earned through hard work, and I will not give up. It's unbelievable. It had never crossed my mind. Today I say, when I came here, everything was so nicely set up, with so many machines. If I needed a tool, I would rather lend one than go and ask for it. The fire seemed to be far away, but as a matter of precaution, an employee even called me and said, "Oh, Mr. Antonio, you'd better leave from there, because it already passed by our house." Civil protection was supposed to take us out of here, but they couldn't anymore, and look, this is all going to go. In the meantime, all of a sudden, a strong wind came up, a terrible gust, and I saw the flames about 100 meters away, 5 or 6 meters high. That was when it got really close and my wife started shouting, "Let's go!" And I said, "Yeah, we're going, let me just take a few more things." And then she shouted, "Look at the children, look at the children." And then I said, "All right, let's go."
Tributes are being paid to the internationally recognized Polish documentary film director Marcel Lozinski, following his death at the age of 85. He was born in May 1940 in Paris to a family of Polish immigrants. After attending the National Film School in Łódź, Lozinski went on to become one of the most outstanding filmmakers of his era. His work was largely anti-system, touching on issues that were sensitive both for the communist authorities and for Polish society after the political transformation. One of Lozinski's best-known and most awarded films is 89mm from Europe. In 1994, he received an Oscar nomination for this work. His film Anything Can Happen was voted in a 2016 poll as the best Polish documentary film in history. And that concludes this midday report. Thank you for watching, and stay with us right here on TVP World for more.